I always kept in touch with John Ribchester, who was his doctor, and I always knew that if it was anything really wrong, John would tell me and I would know what to do. But when it came toward the end of his life, I also knew that I wanted him to have dignity. And he had said to John, you know, if I have to go into a hospice, I will. And I rang John and I said, would you send I think they were the Macmillan nurses, would you send them round so that he can see them and see how he feels? Because I don't want anyone to think that, you know, we've put him in somewhere and he shouldn't be there. It's got to be what he wants. Anyway, the Macmillan nurses came to see him and reported back to John. And that's when John said, well, you know, I think it's the time's right now. But once he went into the hospice, he was in there for about 10 or 12 days. And I suppose the last 4 days of his life, I stayed at night. I slept in a chair by the side of his bed. And on the day he died, I went to make him a cup of no, I went and had a wash and I came back and he looked at me and he didn't look at all well and he just went like that. And I knew he wanted a cup of tea. So I went and made him a cup of tea and came back. And it was in those spouty things, you know. And he couldn't manage it, so I was wetting my fingers and putting it round his lips, you know. And he was okay. He kept sitting up and putting his arms out, and I thought, this is... And I spoke to the nurse, and she said, look, I promise you, if anything happens, or is going to happen, I'll ring you. And I'd gone home, and I was totally exhausted. And I went and had a sleep, and I woke up, and Bernard said he'd gone. And when I saw the nurse, she said, he asked me when the time was near, would I make sure you weren't here? Because he didn't want to see me upset. So, and my caring stopped. And I miss him.